Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those who are new, welcome. My name is Monica, and in today's video I'm going to be doing my May wrap-up. So in the month of May, I read 39 books. I had 7 5 stars, 8 4.5 stars, 8 4 stars, 5 3.5 stars, 4 3 stars, 1 that was left unrated, 3 DNFs, and 2 rereads. I read 9 ARCs and or ALCs, and for my format I had 34 audiobooks, 4 ebooks, and 1 physical book. So for genre breakdown, I read 8 historical romances, 16 contemporary romances, 2 sports romances, 4 romantic suspense, 1 dark romance, 2 paranormal romances, 4 romanticies, 1 historical fiction, and 1 thriller or horror. So I did do a mid-month wrap up for May, and I'll link it down below so you can go watch that for anything that I've read at the beginning of the month. Instead of doing it in chronological order, I'm just going to do it by the star rating. So the ones that I'm going to talk about now are my 4 stars. So the first one that I read that was a 4 star was A Ship of Bones and Teeth by Karina Halley. This is a dark romance Little Mermaid retelling, and it was a very dark. It was a romantasy, it had pirates, and it had magical beings. This follows Marin, who is a siren / mermaid, and she trades her voice to become a human because she became infatuated with Prince Eric. 10 years later, she completely regrets that decision. She wants to become a siren again, and 10 years later she sees all the damage it did to her, not just herself but also to the siren community and her family. Anyway, so she is on board a Danish vessel with her husband, Prince Eric, and she's a princess at this point, and he is physically and mentally abusing her at this point, and they end up getting overran by a pirate ship, and her and Eric are taken captive. She's taken to the captain's quarters, and it goes from there. They have sparks and stuff. He is not a human, and he finds out real quick that she isn't one either, and her revenge that she gets on Eric was interesting. I really liked the characters. I loved the character growth. I loved the world that Karina Halley built. It's honestly a historical romantasy, paranormal, dark romance, and it is a lot of fun to be in this world, but it's not for the faint of heart. So I would recommend it. Just check trigger warnings. So for my next 4 star is Hardly a Gentleman by Eloisa James. I had the ALC for this after it came out, and I got this from NetGalley. The first part of this book was very zany and it was overly silly, okay? So the second part, the characters became somewhat different from who they were at the beginning of the novel. So there's some character growth and stuff, but the thing is I had a lot of fun listening to this. Mary Jane Wells did a good job. This one, it begins with a naked laird fishing in a cold Scottish loch, and both the Scottish laird and our heroine, they are both mauled by a drunk prince, and that's where it starts, and it's silly. It was fun to listen to. It was of time, and that's all that's all I really have to say about it. And I'm sorry, but that's all I have to say about it. So the next 4 star that I had in the second half of May is Come Back to Me by G.A. Mazurk. This is a pen name for Serena Ackroyd, and that is well known. It is the second book in the Seven Seas Ranch series. Here's our characters' names. The first one is T, and she goes to her best friend Z, so T and Z, and her boyfriends. So T goes to her best friend Z and Z's boyfriend's ranch. So because she needs to get her life together. So T goes with Z and Z's boyfriend Colt to their ranch. I'm sorry, it's the T and Z that keeps throwing me off. It was even when I was writing this review, which is in my Goodreads. If you want to know more, it's always linked down below. But anyway, so Colt has his brothers Callan and Cody, and Cody is a retired fighter pilot. What T and Z didn't realize was that they were pen pals when he was in the Canadian Army as a fighter pilot. And he comes back and they have a friendship and they figure things out, and Cody grovels over stuff that happens in the third act conflict. There is pretty good ADHD representation in this, because Z, she's all over the place and very chaotic, and I highly relate to that because I'm chaotic and all over the place. And as you can tell from this video, I'm feeling that way right now. Anyhow, she is also a musical composer, and he helps her make her dream come true by being a musical composer. And I really liked it. I liked the romance. I liked the setting. I liked the characters. The characters' names did kind of throw me a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, but all in all, it was a good time, and I gave it 4 stars. So my last 4-star that I read in the second half of May is Spark of Fate. This is the first book in it's the Shifted Phase series. And this one, we start with Rowan losing her sister in a car accident, and then her family moves cross country to Washington, really to start over. However, her mother is very mean, and there is trigger warning for abuse. Her mother is actually her adopted mother, because they adopted Rowan when she was a baby. Family falls apart, and she's at the school with, you know, the popular guys, and then the girls who want the popular guys, and the popular guys end up being wool shifters, and she ends up being their fated mate, and the popular girls are really mad at her. And that's the beginning of this, and it's the setup of the trilogy. And this is a Why Choose Paranormal Romance trilogy, but from Tessa Hale, and I am so far enjoying it. I have the other 2 books I'm probably going to be reading in June, because they're all on Hoopla. So I do like that one, and I will be continuing on in that series so far, but I gave 4 stars. It's a great setup to what's going to happen next. Then I got the arc for You, Me, and Forever by Laura Pavlov. I gave it 4.5 stars. This is a small town billionaire hero, and she is a wedding planner, and they have a one-night stand that leads to more. She does not give him her real name, and he goes with it, even though he knows that she's lying about her job and her real name and stuff, because it was supposed to be one night. Well, come to find out, our heroine, who's Montana Kingsley, her wedding planning business, Blushing Bride, has business with the inn in town, and Montana has a very deep connection to this inn. Our hero Miles just bought the inn, and he's going to demolish it to build a hotel resort to gain more tourists in the small Alaskan town. And so immediately she hates him, because he's going to bulldoze this little inn that her father works at as a chef. And so she has all these memories growing up in these different parts of the inn, and so she feels personally affronted by Miles wanting to bulldoze this, and even though it's actually the best option for the piece of land and for the town. She sort of fights him until they don't fight anymore, and then they have their romance, and it is very cute. It is a good beginning to a small town romance, and I do recommend it. It's on KU Read and Listen, so you could take it on KU and listen to the audiobook. I didn't listen to the audiobook, I got the ARC. So I can't tell you if the audiobook is good or not, but I do recommend it. It is a good time. And then I got the ALC for Hugo. This is book 2 in the Olive Township series by Jennifer Milligan, and I gave this one 4.5 stars as well. This is more small town romantic suspense. So Olive Township has a 20-year-old case of an unsolved murder from 20 years ago. The victim was Hugo de la Vega's father, and Hugo was 9 when his father was murdered. And there's some similarities between Hugo's father's murder and Mallory Hawkins' sister, who died years ago at a water park. So Mallory comes to Olive Township to talk with Hugo and his family, because she's a true crime podcaster, but she's also pregnant. The father doesn't want anything to do with her or her baby, so he's completely out of the pictures. He signed away his parental rights, and so she's going to be having this baby on her own. And she's still haunted by the death of her little sister, because she was supposed to be taking care of her little sister at this water park. And so Hugo doesn't trust her at first, because she's a true crime podcaster, but Hugo's mother trusts her, and they start opening up about what happened to Hugo's dad, and she shares what happened to her sister, and that there are definitely similarities. So they start digging into this. And so Hugo, he starts trusting her as they're working together to solve her sister's murder and his father's murder, because the similarities are just, there's just too many similarities, even though he was a grown man and she was a little girl. And Hugo took care of Mallory as she was navigating this first pregnancy, and he didn't see her as a problem, this pregnancy as a problem. In fact, they really grew closer together. The romance is very, very sweet, and it was everything I was looking for in the romance. The suspense plot was interesting and it hit well. The villain, you would not guess the villain. I did not guess the villain at all, but there is not a lot of investigation. This was more of a romance with a suspense subplot. This kind of is like All the Missing Pieces by Catherine Cowles, where Catherine Cowles' one was more suspense and less romance. Well, this one is more romance and less suspense. He had the my woman, my baby type of a mentality, which I absolutely love, and I enjoyed this book immensely, and I would recommend it if you really like romantic suspense, or if you just like a sweet romance. I would recommend this one. I listened to Hidden Nature by Nora Roberts when it came out, and I gave this 4.5 stars. This one, the natural resource officer Sloane Cooper almost died when she was shot in a botched convenience store robbery, and she died on the table. She remembers her death on the table, but she's brought back to life. She goes home to recover. And that's where she meets our hero, Nash Littlefield, and his brother. Nash and his brother, they're from a very aristocratic family, very rich family, who very much care how appearances are. Well, Nash and his brother, Theo, they wanted nothing to do with their parents because their parents were not good, are really not good people. So they moved to this little town to start a construction business. Theo and Sloane's little sister, Drea, they end up having a romance and end up getting engaged in this. And as the book goes on, Sloane and Nash, they really start to connect, and they end up having a romance, but it's slower and it's not as explosive as Theo's and Drea's. As this is all going on, there's a serial killer on the loose who are killing it seems to be at random, but Sloane figures this out because while she is recovering, so she starts to dig into these people that have been abducted, and that she finds out that they all have something in common that happened to her. I really enjoyed this book. It is very atmospheric. It is small town in Maryland, I believe, and I had a great time. I would recommend this book. It has a great romantic subplot with a really good suspense, so you should check that one out. And then I read Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. This is book 3 in her Skyland series. So I gave this one 4.5 stars, but I'm rounding it down to 4. And honestly, still thinking about it, it's probably more of a 3.5 to 4 stars. But I'm still keeping it on here. I'm still keeping my rating. And the reason why I don't particularly love this one as much as I loved the other two, like I really liked book 2, even though it was more women's fiction, Before I Let Go, is Perfection. I gave that one 5 stars, and I stand by that 5 stars. This one is about Hendrix, and has a very emotional journey. She's a badass businesswoman, and she's fierce, and she's full of love for her friends and family. Her mother has Alzheimer's. She has to take care of her mother. Her aunt comes and steps up to help take care of her mother. Hendrix has this fierceness about her, how she's trying to navigate everything with her mother and her aunt because stuff happens with her aunt. I loved seeing the family connections between Hendrix and her aunt, as well as getting to see her with Soledad and Yasmin again. I love their friendship. Their friendship is so wonderful, and I love the representation of Black-owned businesses and how they do need to be protected. And I love that Hendrix had this fund to give to female Black-owned businesses to get them started up in a capitalist society that isn't always gender or colorblind. And I really loved that representation and how Kennedy Ryan used real world examples, because some of the stuff that she was talking about in this book did actually happen. And I love that she put it in here. Now, here is where I did not connect with this book, and that is Zir and Maverick. So Zir and Maverick, at the beginning, they are broken up, but they're not telling anyone they're broken up, which I don't get. The reason why they were having one last party was a very flimsy excuse. it kind of made me mad because he immediately connected to Hendrix. She thinks that he is still dating Zaire, who is her friend, or supposed to be her friend. I don't like that setup. I would never like that setup in any book. It drives me crazy. It reeks of cheating to me, and it just makes me mad. I can handle the cheating part if I know that is going in, and it does feel like cheating to me. I'm sorry if you don't agree with me, but that's how it feels. And I just felt like Maverick was kind of a dick to Zaire. He really was. She wanted to have kids. He didn't want to have kids, so he broke up with her. And I do respect that, because having kids is a very huge responsibility. He already had a daughter. She was pretty much grown at that point, and he didn't want to redo it. And I understand that, and I get that, and I do think that is a good reason to break up. However, to pretend that you're still dating and she still has feelings for you is a dick move. I'm sorry, but it is a dick move. I did not think that Maverick was good enough for Hendrix. I loved Hendrix. Like, Hendrix is my girl. I think she is a fantastic character. It was Maverick that I really just had a problem with. And Zaire, I don't know how you pronounce her name. I did not like the way she handled herself in the book either. So that is where my lower rating goes in, because Maverick, and I will stand by this, Maverick did not deserve Hendrix. And you can disagree with me on that, and that's okay, because reading is subjective. And that's why I give 4.5 stars, rounding it down to 4 instead of my usual rounding up to 5. I love the storyline of Hendrix and her family, and I loved the female relationships with Hendrix and her friends, and that's what made me give it a high rating as I did. So let's get to my 5 stars. I did not have any 5 stars at the beginning of May. So all my 5 stars happened at the end of May, which was kind of refreshing. I was terrified I wasn't going to get any 5 stars. One of the first ones that I read was Dying to Meet You by Sarina Bowen. This is just a straight up domestic thriller. This thriller is about the misdeeds of a very prominent wealthy family in Portland, Maine. They had a lot of secrets that were multi-generational. The secrets that were surrounding our heroine, Rowan, is very dizzying, because there was a lot of secrets, and it leads up to her and her ex being the main suspects in the murder of her ex-boyfriend, because her ex was killed in front of this house. There is a reason for that. Her ex-husband, if I remember correctly, I think they were married. They have a daughter together. He just recently got out of jail. He's working at the old restaurant that they met at. Her daughter is named Natalie, and at the beginning, she's really a single mom to Natalie. The relationship between Rowan and Natalie is very authentic. I absolutely love that. I loved the atmosphere of Portland, Maine. It felt real to me. She was just giving all these landmarks again, so I really appreciate that. There was a lot of twists and turns in this book. So the person who was killed, her ex, he was investigating a baby buying selling ring. This mansion used to be a home for girls who were pregnant and they were teenagers, and the guy who ran it was very much a predator, and there's stuff that happened that was just disgusting. So as Rowan and her ex-husband are investigating this, so this is not going to be pinned on them, they find out exactly what happened to these women, what happened to these babies. For the most part, there are still some questions that weren't completely answered, but that's okay. I really enjoyed the romance, because it was really a second chance romance with her ex. He was always the right person, and I think this is a great installment. I love Sarina Bowen. She can write characters beautifully, and I would recommend this one. So another 5-star for me was Night Secrets by Kat Martin. This one is angsty and emotional. The setting is on a ship. We start in the Carolinas with Brandy, or Brienne, and she stows away on Marcus's ship. He is an earl back in England, and she is really lower class. So there's absolutely class difference as well. He realizes right away that she's a girl, and it is their romance. She actually puts herself in harm's way to help other people on the ship, and he's like, I love the sea. The sea is my wife, and my wife, if I had a wife, would be my mistress. But then he really falls for Brienne, and he leaves her once. He has an accident. She goes to him to help him recover, and he realizes that his ship and the sea is not really his true love. And there's a lot of caretaking in this book. He took care of her while she was on the ship. She took care of him after this horrible accident, and they saved each other multiple times in this book, and I absolutely adored it. Marcus is a great hero, but it took him forever to figure out that, yeah, he needed to be with Brienne. But I loved it. I love the scenery, and I just loved the whole thing, and I had a lot of fun, so I gave it 5 stars. And then I had an ALC of When Love Finds Us by Claudia Borgoa, and this one is book 3 in the Timberidge Brothers series. This is a romantic suspense in a small town, and we are taken on a ride through Blythe. Blythe, her original name is Henrietta. She is a woman in hiding, woman on the run from her very well-connected, very, very powerful and dangerous psychopathic husband. She leaves him to save her own life because he's going to kill her eventually, because that he was truly psychopathic towards her. What he did to her. Anyways, while she is on the run, she discovers that she's pregnant. So she ends up on the doorstep of our hero, Atlas. And Atlas, he's back in this small sleepy town where his stepbrothers are, and he's not really wanted, but he has kind of a secret background where which is kind of like a FBI CIA background, but he is a tattoo artist. And so she really needs a job because she needs to get more money to be able to cross the border to Canada. And so he's like, okay, you tell me who you are, what your real name is, what are you running from, and I will help you. If you lie to me, I will turn you over. Because there is a bulletin out that says that she is emotionally disturbed and a danger to herself and other people. Because that's how much her husband is trying to find her. And so she tells him the truth, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna protect you. And he doesn't fall for her right away, but as he's protecting her, he really, because she stays with him, it's really one bed. They fall for each other, and they fall hard for each other. And honestly, it has the my wife, my woman vibes, like I'm going to kill you if you touch my woman. It also has the who hurt you, because he ends up going out for blood for her ex-husband, who really was horrible to her. And honestly, Blythe is an extremely strong heroine. She manages to get herself away. She manages to elude him for a very long time, and she manages to take care of herself and her unborn baby. Now, Atlas sees that unborn baby as his because he's so in love with Blythe. He doesn't see her ex-husband as the father. He's like, that's my baby, that's my woman, and I'm going to protect them at any cost. Her husband is circling around. He is really part of the secret society that's been plaguing this town, and so he ends up finding where she's at, and there's a reckoning, and it was fantastic. It has the possessive alpha hero who's not an asshole vibe, and he's like, he didn't care that baby was not his biologically, that baby was his. And I loved everything about this book. It had a slow burn because he didn't feel that way at first, but as he got to know Blythe and he got to see her strength and who she is as a person, he fell hard for her, and it was just everything. And then I got an ALC of Spotlight by Rebecca Genshak. Spotlight is the 4th and final book in the Holland Brothers series, and this is about Flynn and Olivia. They meet in New York when she is there for her sister's author event, and he is there for baseball tryouts. Well, something ends up happening, and he gets traded to the Mavericks, which is like a really bad team. When they hook up in New York, they just talked all night. Like, they really connected to each other all night, right? It wasn't a sexual thing. It was very much a very much mind melding type of a thing. And he left before she was awake to go talk to his agent, and she woke up and thought he had ditched her, and she left without knowing his real name, and he left without really knowing her name. When they meet again, they find out each other's name, and Olivia is not impressed with him because she thinks he ditched her, when in fact he was coming right back. She just didn't stay long enough. Olivia is a single parent to Greer, who is this cute little girl. But then Flynn, as he gets to know Olivia and Greer and Flynn's father-daughter bonding, because they end up bonding as a father-daughter would. And I loved their dynamic, their relationship, but I really loved the romance between Olivia and Flynn. It was slower, specifically after the little miscommunication that happened in New York. And he has to make decisions that are hard because he is a fantastic baseball player and people want him. But can he leave his girls, because Greer and Olivia are his girls? And I loved seeing all the characters from the rest of the books in the Holland Brothers series, because it starts with Burnt Out. I just feel like this book was a perfect ending to a really solid series. I gave 5 stars. I loved my time in this world. I had 2 big surprises. My first big surprise was The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. I actually DNF'd Magnolia Parks fairly early on because I just couldn't handle the richiness of it. It was kind of driving me crazy. But I also probably wasn't in the right headspace for that book, so I might end up going back and trying it again. Oh, and I should say that this has a small little crossover with Magnolia Parks because Georgia lives in London, so she knows the characters from the Magnolia Parks series. Georgia comes home because her father dies. Her brother, Oliver, is a very mean alcoholic. He comes home as well. She has an older brother named Tennyson and another sister. I can't remember her name, and it's probably a good thing because I couldn't stand this sister because she was an extreme narcissist. And what she did to Georgia was completely unforgivable, what she did to Georgia. Anyhow, Sam is Oliver's AA sponsor, and he comes to support Oliver. But Georgia and Sam headed off, and they start sneaking around because Oliver is very possessive. He's also very gay in this, and Georgia's family is very ultra conservative in South Carolina. So Oliver is himself, and so therefore he was shunned by his family for being gay, which is disgusting. And we do have a trigger warning for alcoholism, falling off, relapsing into alcohol abuse, as well as sexism, gaslighting, homophobia. There's a lot. Okay, so anyway, so Georgia comes home for her dad's funeral, and they go to the reading of the will. They find out that there's this person named Alexis that's getting a bunch of the inheritance, and they're like, wait, what's going on? Did their father have an affair? That is the setup to this. And so Sam comes in and he's seeing all this happen. So they have to investigate who this Alexis person is, and they do, and they find out some very, very interesting secret. This one is very character-driven story. I really loved the characters. They felt real, they felt dynamic, and most of them felt sympathetic. Not all of them felt sympathetic, but most of them did. And I feel like she can tell a story, she can write characters that are they feel real. Like, they felt real. And I was so surprised because I was like, I did not know if I was going to like it or not, but I absolutely loved it. And I loved the romance between Georgia and Sam and how they snuck around, and how Georgia and Tennyson were not getting along for a long time because he thought she was just this horrible person. It was really good. I highly recommend this. I don't want to say any more because I don't want to spoil it, so go read it. So the next book that surprised me was Left of Forever. This one I gave 5 stars. It's a second chance after divorce romance between Ren and Alice. They were parents at 17 to their son Samuel, and they got married early. And then 5 years ago, they got a divorce because, trigger warning for infertility and ectopic pregnancy. She wanted another baby. He wanted her to be happy, but he also wanted her to be safe. And they just stopped communicating with each other, and that's why they got a divorce. And so he missed her. and she missed him. And she was trying to date and he was just trying to get by. And so he was fighting this wildfire, and she sent a letter with some scones to a fireman, not him. She didn't think he was there. She didn't know he was there fighting this wildfire. She saw a news article or story about these two horses that were missing in the wildfire, and she wanted to see if they were going to be okay. And he realized that it was her. He recognized the baked goods, and he decided that he really wanted her back, and he did the work to get her back. I loved that his family were sort of nosy about it. So the way he decided to get her back is their son was going to go to college, so they decided to drive their son to college and then have a road trip back. And some of their 2-room situations ended up becoming 1 bed thanks to a couple of their relatives, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was really well done. It was very authentic. They both still loved each other. They just had to work through their stuff, and the communication in this was fantastic. This was always been you plus marriage in crisis, marriage in trouble type of a second chance romance done right. I absolutely loved it. I highly recommend this one. So my last 5-star is Rewind It Back by Liz Tomforty. This is book 5 in our Windy City series. This is Rio, DeLuca, and Hallie. They met when he was 12 and she was 10 or something. She gave him mixtapes about the different moments that happened on her birthday. So music was throughout the year of special things. And as they were getting to know each other when they were kids, all the big events just sort of snowballing into moments between Rio and Hallie. Well, 6 years ago from present day, they split up. We don't know at the beginning why they split up. So there is a dual timeline that is occurring as she is telling the story. And I loved the way she wrote it because it did not disrupt the narrative. It actually gave us context clues to what was happening in the present, why they were feeling the way they were feeling, to what happened in the past. And I really liked the way she wrote that. I loved how there was nobody for him but her. This was just It's Always Been You. Again, I love Always Been You, second chance, the way this was written. I loved the reason why he was in the NHL was because of Hallie. I loved how as they grew as people, they were able to start communicating and find out exactly why things happened the way they happened in the past, and how they are ultimately not responsible for other people's decisions. And I love the second chance romance. I loved it. I loved Rio as a character. I love Hallie as a character. She's incredibly strong and very resilient, and I loved that she gave him crap when they first reunited, but they were always going to be together. They just needed to figure out some stuff. And they were really young when they split because they were really young when they got together. There's something that I absolutely love, but I don't want to say it because it's a spoiler. But this is my favorite book in the Windy City series, and I just love these characters to death. I was okay with the amount of time we had with the other characters in those books. I still loved seeing Indy and Rio in their relationship and how he went to girls' night with all the girls. I just thought that was funny, and I would recommend this book. Anyway, so those are my 4 to 5-star reads in the second half of May. Let me know if you've read any of these. If you have, what did you think of them? Did you like them? Is there a book that I read that you might be interested in? Let me know all the things down below. And if you made it this far in this video and you want to let me know that you're here, please leave me a red heart emoji because the cover of Rewind It Back is red. And until next time, my friends, happy reading. Bye.